We will move on to our Mariners now.
Yeah, so it feels like, at least for the past few weeks, it's kind of been somewhat of a, well, no, not I guess for the past few weeks. The past few weeks have been good because they've been winning series.
Right.
This one's kind of a mixed bag. We head into it. The Mariners had a road series down in Houston to wrap up their little road trip, and then they came back to begin an 11-game in 10-day homestand back here at T-Mobile Park. So we'll go back to that Houston series starting on the 6th, a 7-4 win down in Houston. That was the day where the benches cleared, and we'll get to that in team-related news. But Seattle would win that game. Player of the game, catcher Cal Raleigh. Raleigh going 2 for 4 with a run and 4 RBI. So Cal really continuing his uptick and just doing better since the time that Tom Murphy was placed on the injured list and Cal was called back up. June 7th at the Astros, unfortunately losing game 2, 4-1. Player of the game, kind of an interesting pick here. Abraham Toro. He went 0 for 4, but he did drive in the only run for the Mariners in that game. On the 8th, the Mariners would win the series 6-3. Player of the game, catcher Cal Raleigh. Raleigh going 1 for 4 with a run and 2 RBIs with a 2-run homer. So Raleigh continues to be effective regardless of, 1 or 4 or not, whatever. He's been impactful there and continues to just be better than he has been earlier in the season. So that was, actually, because we're on the subject of that series, I feel like we should actually talk about that. So it's no secret when you play a team in your division as often as you do, there will probably be some history between you two, right? If you look at it last year with Houston, the Mariners doing a lot better record-wise against them than they have in years before. The comeback, they were down I think they won a game 11-7 against Houston, where they were down 7-0 at one point. Dylan Moore hits a grand slam. The Mariners were able to win that game. There was a big trade between Kendall Graveman and Abraham Toro. Graveman had been having a really great year before then. There was a lot of outrage. And then there was a game actually where Graveman was in the pitch. The bases were loaded. Toro was up. Toro hits I think it was a grand slam. It was a homer regardless, but there were a lot of moments. There's always going to be a lot of moments with Houston, right? And so in last week's Houston series back at home, well, I guess 2 weeks now, right? Kyle Lewis was drilled in the head with a ball. He's still dealing with concussion symptoms. We don't know when he'll be back from that. But there's just keep that in mind, right? Because we go to this game on the 6th, and I believe Ty France was actually hit with a pitch, and Ty is no secret to being hit with pitches. Since the start of 2021 has been hit, I believe, 42 times now, which is the most in Major League Baseball by far. So he gets hit. Someone says something, and then the bench is clear. Scott Service comes out. Jesse Winker comes out like a heat-seeking missile. And it wasn't there wasn't any punches thrown, but as you can see here, they definitely got together.
And it was Service and Lopez just going back and forth.
There were a lot of bad words that were said.
Oh, I'm sure.
I just remember seeing it. Just a lot of the F word was used quite a bit.
I didn't understand what started that, because France obviously gets hit. So did they not, from their angle, they just couldn't see the hit?
It was that, and then there was I think he got hit in the back, and the home plate umpire didn't see it at first, so I don't think he was going to call it, and Service was upset with that. And then I remember Eugenio got a ball that was thrown near his head.
He did,
and that didn't help. I don't remember. I might be blanking on the memory of I think the fight was Ty actually.
It was right after that tie play.
And then so Eugenio almost gets thrown at. Hector Neris, the pitcher, gets thrown out of the game for that. And then I think the next step at was Julio. Julio hits a homer to really cement that game, which that was a wild,
nice one.
Great composure for him. But that was a fun game. But the backlash of that scuffle between the Mariners and the Astros. So Houston had 3 people disciplined. 5. There were 3 different ways that they were disciplined. Hector Neris was suspended 4 games for throwing at, he hit Ty, and then he almost hit Eugenio. manager Dusty Baker was suspended 1 game and fined. And then Joe Espada, Omar Lopez, and Tony Snitker were all fined for Houston. On the Seattle side, Scott Service was fined. So it was interesting down there in Houston. And then whenever you play Houston, it's going to get interesting. But I feel like the next series we see them, we might see some more fireworks.
And this was the Sage in the Clubhouse series, right?
Yeah. So in case you didn't see it, members of the media that travel with the team tweeted how Mariners legend Mike Cameron, who's actually been around the club for a few days now, I just saw him in the press box yesterday,
Nice.
was burning sage in the clubhouse to get the bad mojo out
Mm.
of the clubhouse. So, I mean, it worked for that series.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how it works going forward. But yeah, that was an interesting story to read about. But anyway, so they win that series, and then they come home to play Boston. So this one is tough. So they start, as I said, an 11-game homestand in 10 days, featuring
on
a doubleheader.
4-series win streak.
Yes, and you say, hey, maybe we can win 5. Something you haven't won 5 series in a row since I think it was 2019. June 10th versus the Red Sox. That Friday is a 4-3 loss. They were coming back, just weren't able to cap it off. Player of the game, left fielder Jesse Winker, going 1 for 5 with a run and 2 RBIs, hitting a 2-run homer in that game. Winker already also had a really good catch in that game. And so I was like, hey, maybe that can sort of juice him up. I'm hoping maybe. We'll see. June 11th versus the Red Sox, a 7-6 win. So Seattle was able to complete the comeback in that one. Player of the game, center fielder Julio Rodriguez. I went with Julio just because of his homer early on. Boston went ahead early in the first inning, and then it's like, shoot, you're down already. You need to answer. And they were able to answer. Julio, well, his homer was in the second inning, but I believe he got on base in that first inning too.
Yeah.
Julio went 2 for 5 with 2 runs and 2 RBIs. And then June 12th versus the Red Sox, unfortunately, a 2-0 loss, only mustering 1 hit. Normally with shutouts, I always say no player of the game, but Robbie Ray went 7 innings, 3 hits allowed, 0 runs, and just a really good performance. I don't know. It's just all of those games are close.
Mm-hmm.
The 1 hit is unacceptable to me, at least. I think if you want to win any game, 1 hit is unacceptable, let alone playing who you're playing against, a team that can hit up and down the lineup. And your pitcher, as I mentioned with Ray, going 7 innings pitched and not allowing a run. With the Boston series, you see them being close, failing to complete the comeback in game 1, coming back in game 2 like they did, being down by 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th, giving up a homer in the top of the 9th to give Boston the lead. What did you, as someone looking on the outside in, what did you see from that? What did you gather from that?
So it was interesting because after that June 11th game where they didn't get that comeback, it gave me hope for the next game. And I thought, oh, they're going to come out guns blazing. Like it's going to be the exact same energy. And it was like they gave all they could to that second game and had nothing left. So that was, a little disappointing. It's also, like you said, 1 hit is unacceptable. And with how the guys are performing now, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and I said it in one of the, I think it was the last game, that June 12th game in the article there. If you look at the 3 main position player acquisitions in Winker, Suarez, and Frazier, they've all had their moments where whether it be some span of the time or longer or shorter, where they've been good. Frazier, and I think the first homestand, and I think one of the other homestands played really well, batting wise. He's just a guy that can get hits. He's not a power guy. He's a guy that can get hits, get on base. Suarez he's looked at as a slugger, and in recent weeks he's been playing better.
He has.
Right. There's just some at bats I need him to be better. And then Winker, just looking for that form. He was really bad against lefties last year, and he's doing better against lefties this year. It's just, you need these guys if you want to be a consistent offensive team, let alone good. Just be consistently good. game in and game out. You need more consistent production from those guys, because outside of those guys, your lineup is like your position group is mostly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you're going to need some turnaround. Again, we've talked about this before. I don't know how much of this is hitting staff. So, with that being said, we'll move over to players of the week here. You went with Cal Raleigh. I don't blame you
I
necessarily,
do.
but what was
Yeah.
the overall motivation for that?
He took the lead back twice in that first game against Houston, I believe. So he came up big in that game, and it seems like he has just a different confidence and a different energy going out there. The Mariners are 8-0 when he has a run, they believe.
Oh,
Yeah. So he's hit on 5 of his last 7 games. So definitely improvement, and like I said, it felt like he really swung the momentum there against the Astros series. So I couldn't not go with him.
Yeah. And like I said, well, I didn't say this on air, but something that's important, because Raleigh was your top catching prospect for years. He was called up last year, has relatively struggled up to the last sort of span he's been on. But if he's able to be consistent and just be better, even if he's able to hit at the 250 line with what he's done, the 250 average is what he had in the past 7 days. That's fine. Just be serviceable, because for a while, I mean, outside of Omar Narvaez was good, he was solid. But outside of like Mike Zanino, it's been a while since the Mariners have had a really I can look at the catcher and be satisfied with who's there day in and day out. And that's what you want to be able to do. Obviously, want to do that at every position, but that's a key there, right?
Yeah.
So I don't blame you one bit for that. I went with JP just numbers wise in 24 at bats, 9 hits, 4 runs, 2 doubles, 2 RBIs, 11 total bases, 4 walks, 2 stolen bases, a 375 average, a 464 on base percentage, a 458 slugging, and a 923 OPS. So you look at it, I mean, 375 average. The 2 middle infielders, him and Frazier are guys that are not power guys, but they're going to get on base, and that's all that really matters. Just the issue with the Mariners is scoring those guys that have been on base.
Yep.
So, we don't need to rehash that. We've already gone over that. In terms of injury-related news, on the 9th, General Manager Jerry Dipoto said that he expects both relief pitchers Ken Giles and Eric Swanson to return to the roster this homestand. Swanson has done so. We'll get to that in a second with team news, but he said that he would be surprised if both aren't back by the end of this homestand. So looking over to team-related news, as I mentioned with Swanson, the team reinstated him from the 15-day injury list on the 10th. As a corresponding move, left-handed pitcher Anthony Mashevitz was sent to AAA Tacoma. And then on the 11th, the team reclaimed infielder Kevin Padlow off of waivers from San Francisco. If you don't remember, he was designated for assignment a few weeks ago. No, I think he was traded actually to San Francisco. Well, designated for assignment and then traded to San Francisco for cash considerations. And then so as a corresponding move to that, the Mariners designated relief pitcher Drew Steckenrider for assignment, which is interesting only because of the year that Steckenrider had last year. But then this year he's just been total different, just not much better. Not much better. He's been way worse. And he's unvaccinated, so he couldn't join the team in Toronto when they played the Toronto series. Do you want to take a look at these league notes here? So go through this first one, and then I'll tell you a funny thing to add on to that.
Okay.
Because there's something else with that.
All right. On that first one here on June 7th, the Angels have fired Joe Madden. Anaheim manager fired amid 12-game losing streak, 3rd stint with Angels. He's been with the team since 2020. Madden reportedly surprised by firing. No finger pointing. Dismissal surprised him a lot.
And so the thing to add with Joe Madden's firing was that apparently on the day that he was fired, he had a mohawk cut into his hair to try and help with the bad mojo, obviously, around the losing streak. And he was fired before the team could see it.
Oh.
So he was fired. The team couldn't see it. that went to waste. So I don't know. Kind of. I thought
You
that was
think he kept it?
I don't know. I was looking for a photo of it. I
Yeah.
couldn't find it. I just thought that was comedic.
Yeah. Moving on here on June 9th, trouble for the Orioles. There is currently a lawsuit between the Angelos family that alleges that John Angelos is considering moving the Baltimore Orioles to Tennessee.
Don't buy it. I don't buy it. I think it would be really hard to move Baltimore to Tennessee, let alone move them at all. So
Yeah.
quickly, I don't buy it.
And the Angels end their historic losing streak. Anaheim's losing streak ends at 14 as the team beats Boston. This is the franchise worst streak. And then also for the 9th, the top umpire alleges discrimination. Angel Hernandez alleges that MLB altered internal evaluations to prevent minority umpires from being promoted. That is very disappointing.
Yeah, very disappointing and really bad for a sport that, again, continues to try and grow, right? I mean, you look at how it compares to some of these other major sports in the NFL and the NBA. So you need more. So looking ahead for the Mariners, as I mentioned, 11 games in 10 days. It's a lot.
That sounds, my brain can't comprehend the 11 and 10.
Just the doubleheader. So Seattle sits at a 27-33 record, fourth in the AL West still, but only a couple games back from Anaheim, which sits at second. So starting today, June 13th, versus the Twins, a 3-game series, 7:10 p.m. Pacific time. The 14th versus the Twins is also a 7:10 start. Then June 15th is a matinee game at 1:10. June 16th through 19th is a series against the Angels. That's 5 games.
It's a lot of the Angels.
The 16th, yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is the first time that you're playing Anaheim. So it'll be interesting to see how the Mariners take care of that, especially coming off that losing streak. But June 16th and 17th are both 7:10 starts. June 18th is a 1:10 start for the first game of the doubleheader. That is the Juneteenth game. The Mariners will be wearing their Seattle Steelheads uniforms. I don't know if there's a giveaway for that game. I think there is the next day. And then the second game of the doubleheader is scheduled for 7:10, which is going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. And then so wrapping up that series, June 19th versus the Angels is a 1:10 start. So Minnesota is the top team in their division.
Yes, they are.
In the AL Central. And then Anaheim is the second team in your division. So it doesn't get any easier, but we'll see how they,
it's also Charles's birthday. And it's fireworks night.
Star Wars fireworks night. Yeah, I don't really look at the promotions much, but that'll be a good day. Bell will have you covered on that day. I won't be there working. I'll be there as a fan. So we'll look at that, but we got a show to do.